welcome back to another video here on Sam's Crafty Castle. And today we're doing something kind of easy. Like, I don't even have a color palette for this because I already kind of had something in mind when I started it. And actually this was sort of take two on this card. I was going to do something else, ended up not liking it, and completely changed the direction of it. So, but I like this one so much better. So the first thing we're going to do is use this embossing folder. This is the same embossing folder I used in last week's video. It is the Happy Hearts, I think that's the right name. I'm second guessing myself now, but you guys know it'll be in the description. It is the, I believe, Happy Hearts embossing folder from J&K Designs, and I'm just running it through my Intricut. And instead of using this side, which I really like, I actually am going to use the back side. And this is kind of inspired from last week's video because I just happened to have flipped the Happy Hearts over one time when I had it on the table and realized I liked the debossed side of it as much as I liked the embossed side of it. So I decided I really wanted to use that on a card, so I did on this one. And that's kind of why this one became something it wasn't supposed to be, because like I said, I started it the first way I envisioned it, wasn't vibing with it, and then was thinking about how cool the debossed hearts looked, and then decided to switch it up and do it this way. This is a very, very easy card for the most part, and we're going to talk a little bit more about some other things once we get in here, but in a little while. But I'm just using my mini Misty now to stamp my greeting, which is just this little tiny Happy Valentine's Day from Christina's new Concord and 9th set. And I really am glad I have this little tiny Valentine's Day. Oh, that reminded me, because it just happened. My camera is still doing the weird out of focus thing. I know what happened there, and I think it happens at least once more in this video. Again, I still haven't quite figured that out. I really don't want to buy a new camera right now, so I'm kind of hoping it'll just figure itself out, because I can't figure out why it's happening all of a sudden, that it's decided to go out of focus all the time. So, I don't know. Hopefully it'll just, like, fix itself, and I'm just going to keep apologizing for it in videos until I either figure out what it's doing, why it's doing that. I don't know if the table is shaking, because it's just, my camera is just clamped to my table, because I don't really have anything to, like, put it on behind the table, and I don't have enough actual space on the table to be able to, like, put it on a stand on the table, so it's, like, clamped to the back of my desk, and I can't tell if the desk just shakes enough that's what's making it do it. I don't know. But I'm gonna keep researching cameras, and I'm gonna keep trying to figure out why it's doing that, and hopefully eventually it'll stop. And I think having it sped up like this, the fact that I speed the videos up, I think makes the out of focus stuff more noticeable. But oh well, it is what it is, and it's usually only for like a couple seconds, so hopefully it's not that awful. Anyway, this is what I really was wanting to talk about. So these are, I've done these videos on these before. I think I did one, I don't know if I've done like a video on them where they've been featured this heavily. I know I used some, I think I did, I just don't remember what video it was, but I'm pretty sure I'd maybe use these in another video in a more featured way like this one. But these are the Crazy Creation outline stickers. I used to have a ton of these. I actually ended up getting rid of most of them, and then the end of last year, decided I missed them and I really liked them and I wanted them back. And so I went to Crazy Creations and I ordered a bunch of them, and have only used them once or twice since I ordered them, because, you know, that's how it goes. But I was working on this card and trying to figure out what image I wanted to use on it, and I wasn't really sure, and happened to be going through my box where I keep this kind of stuff, looking for something else, and found these really cute heart rose outline stickers that I had forgot I bought, and was like, ooh, I'm gonna use these. So I intended originally to leave it on the square, so if you rewind a little bit, because I'm a little behind here, but if you rewind a little bit, I had this originally on a square of watercolor cardstock, and I put it on there, and I intended to leave it as a square. Ended up deciding that no, I did not like the square, and cut it out. If you wanted to, I will say these do work really well in my scan and cut. As far as my scan and cut cutting them out, it works quite well actually. But I did not want to set up my scan and cut for this tiny little heart, so I just cut it out myself. A heart was not that difficult to fussy cut, so I did that. But if you do have a scan and cut and you don't like fussy cutting at all, you can absolutely get your scan and cut to cut these out. I have had very good luck with that, actually. Then I'm trying to use more of the coloring mediums that I have around this year in general. So I've got some new watercolor pencils that I still haven't used yet, and I've had them for almost a month, so I really need to get on that. I have these Tombow markers, I have my Copic markers, and I have my color pencils. And I always tend to default to my Copic markers when I'm coloring on the videos because they don't take as long. Colored pencils take a very long time unless you're going to do like an underpainting thing, then that helps speed up the process a little bit. But they do take a long time to get really good results. And, you know, with these markers, they're always sitting behind me. I've had them forever. I just don't use them very often. So been trying to challenge myself to use them more. And the fun thing about the Tombow markers is they're basically my watercolor marker of choice. I know I really was singing the praises of the Spectrum Noir Aqua Tri-Blends, I think is what they were called. I can't remember the name of them anymore, but they've gotten really hard to find, and they don't come in a whole lot of colors. Copic markers come in a lot more colors. And I also do like that they have the brush tip on one side and then like the bullet tip on the other side. I'm not a super big fan of the Tombow brush tip. I'm not going to lie to you. They get kind of yucky kind of quickly. But the bullet side is also totally fine. So like I just kind of use whatever side feels good, if that makes sense. But like that's why I'm using the this is the blender, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more in a second, but that's why I'm using the bullet tip on this blender instead of the brush tip, which is the open end you see, because the brush tip on that blender was just not doing it for me. It just felt gross to color with, and I mean it works fine, but they just feel weird, and it's just a weird thing for me that sometimes it just feels weird. Same thing with some of my Copic nibs. I have one that I just need to replace the nib on just because the nib just feels weird for some reason. So it happens sometimes. I think that might just be a me thing, but it is what it is, and I just learned to deal with it. So the fun thing about Tombow markers, I think, is as I mentioned, they're water based, which means you can use them as a watercolor marker. So you can use them with a water brush, water, and a paintbrush. You can use them with like Wink of Stella if you wanted to do the sort of glittery watercolor. I have a very, very, very old video on that. I should maybe think about doing a new one, but an updated one. But when I was intending, because if you remember, I said I put this sticker down on watercolor paper because I was kind of intending on doing a watercolor thing. But after I got the markers out and got everything done, honestly, I was just feeling too lazy to get up and go get water out of the kitchen. So I was like, you know what? We're just going to use the blender pen. The blender pen works the same way as if you were going to watercolor them. So when I'm doing something like this, with these like watercolors, water-based markers kind of thing, I kind of let all of the marker do the work for me. That's why I like them. That's why I've decided I'm not a huge fan of like the paint, like watercolor paints, because it's too hard to get a consistent color to me. But with the markers, like you just use your marker to draw on your darkest area, which is what I did. Anywhere I would have normally put shadows with my Copic markers or my pencils, I just use the marker and draw a line in there, and then I let the blender pen do the rest for me and just color out from there. It's very simple coloring. It is, nothing really crazy, but I would have done the same thing if I was using water and a paintbrush. I would just I would have just drawn the marker into the shadow areas and then used the water to blend them out. Um, it's one of those things where I'm just like, a really good friend of mine is a very, very talented watercolor artist, and she can do some really, really amazing things. But that is not for me. I am a marker and pencil coloring girly, and I absolutely think that I probably, with a lot of practice, could really improve my watercolor skills into something decent, at least. Um, but I just prefer markers and pencils, I've decided. And so, like, I still have a few watercolor paint sets, but I think I'm going to destash them. And I'm going to just focus on the markers and pencils. And I can do things like watercolor pencils and watercolor markers to get a similar vibe. I'm going to keep some of my watercolor paints because, like, I'm going to keep my golds and stuff because that is helpful for, like, splatters and stuff. But other than that, I think I'm going to destash them. And it'll be a while before I actually, like, remove them from the house to destash them. So if I do for some reason decide that I want them, like, I still will have them for a while. But I don't know. I just don't think the watercolor stuff is for me, which is fine. That's okay. There's not my vibe. And that's okay. Maybe you guys don't like colored pencils or markers. Maybe you like Tombow markers, but you don't like Copic markers. That's how my mom and I were. I was a big Copic marker girly, and she preferred the Tombow markers. That's why I have them. And yeah, it was just two different preferences. My mom also really, really loved colored pencil coloring a long time before I did. I, kind of learned to love it, but my mom was into it way before I was. So, just personal preferences on your favorite coloring mediums, and don't let social media trick you into thinking that you have to be, like, really good at all of them, because I fell into that rabbit hole with the watercolor thing, and that was why I was trying so hard. And like I said, all of a sudden I was like, I'm trying really hard, but I'm not enjoying the fact that I'm trying, and I just don't think it's for me. So, this is another important thing, which you should do this with your Copic blenders too, or your pencil blenders, if I'm being honest, but you would have to do it in a different way. But make sure you get your color off the tips of them. So I just had a scrap piece of paper that I was using to you just have to, like, scribble, and then the color will come out of the blender a little bit. I need some new blenders though, and now that I've, like, picked up my Tombow markers again and had fun with them, I'm thinking that full set syndrome may kick in for those yet, and I'll have to get the rest of them because I don't have all of the colors for Tombow, and I'm probably going to need to get a couple blenders if I'm going to be using them more. So we're going to see how it goes over the next little bit and how much I actually use them. But, like, I love how that came out. That came out so pretty. So yeah, I need to get better about using them. So now we're just in the assembly phase, and I'm going to glue this embossed panel what's going to seem like upside down, but it's not, because that's the way I intended it. So don't forget, that's the other part of this video, those markers and the embossing folder. All your embossing folders have two uses. You can use either side of them and it'll look really cute. And I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again, how much I really love that we're doing dies for all the words now, because this looks so cute with being able to die cut out that Happy Valentine's Day. It just is so subtle and so pretty and so cute, and I really like this card. So, but that's it for today. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below, and I'll see you again soon, and have a crafty day.